Okay.
Yeah.
Paint us a picture of urban, because Nairobi Chapel was urban. That was the cutting edge.
So this was pre-Nairobi Chapel.
I mean, not even Nairobi. Sorry, Nairobi Baptist.
Nairobi Baptist. Yes,
Nairobi
it
Baptist.
was now cutting edge. Huh?
Yeah.
So I think the thing Nairobi Baptist really did well. Number one, they spoke English. I mean, I can't tell you how much. And I don't mean English in a bad. I don't mean English like the language English. They spoke in a language that you understood. As a person who went to school, they spoke urban. Let me put it that way. So you could listen to the preacher and you're like, okay, that makes sense. It actually connects. They sang songs that were actually interesting to sing. You know, there wasn't this organ and a hymn book and stuff that you're just reciting. You could actually tell it was heartfelt, it was connected, they had bass guitars. I mean, the music was good. They had young people on stage playing. So you're like, wow. In fact, I remember just being shocked that young people could play such good music, because in Kenya, you didn't have bands in churches. But they actually had a real band and live people playing really good music. So I mean, all that stuff was helpful. They also had a very strong, and they still do, a very strong culture of releasing young people to do their thing. So when you went to the youth fellowship, like it was led by young people would preach, your peers. They'd share testimonies. So it was real. They kept it real. And I think at that age, you don't want to be preached at. You want guys telling you and you're questioning and you're discussing. So it was very alive. It was very vibrant. And I think that was the one church where, I mean, I think NPC, Sitam, was also having some sort of that same
vibe,
sense of vibe. But I was so glad I landed in Nairobi Baptist. And also my folks did not fight that. I was grateful that they didn't try and push me away. For them, it was like, so long as you're going to church,
we're good.
Yeah, we're good with that. And
no more prang in cars.
Exactly. So, I mean, that took me, and I feel like that allowed me now to enter college. Because remember now, I'm playing for the rugby team at Patch. Back those days, and I don't know whether it's the same. I think it's the same today. I mean, we played rugby, you are quite a celebrity. So went into Mean Machine. From year one, I was drafted into, I was playing for the main team.
Whoa.
And so when you played for Mean Machine, you're 15 guys representing a university of 10,000 people. Of course you're known, you know.
Aye.
So there's a celebrityness to that made you get into, and then the lifestyle of rugby is very, it's drinking, it's swearing, it's girls, it's all that. So I feel like connecting with these peers just before university was it was a life-saving thing for me. Because now when I went into university, I mean, you've got your respect, you're playing rugby, but then now I would go to Nairobi Baptist. And so I've got a Sunday life, and that Sunday life kind of challenges some of the things in my in my weekly life and keeps me from some excesses. Huh? And around that time, Nairobi Chapel also started, because Nairobi Baptist actually played a part. Nairobi Chapel was an older church, dying. They asked Nairobi Chapel for help.
No, Nairobi Baptist was an older, okay.
Nairobi Chapel was an older church.
Oh, it was?
It was an old Muzungu church that was dying. It was right in the middle of university. It had like 20 old, mostly white people, and mostly British. It had been planted colonial days, 52. It's an old church. But now it was dying. So those Wazers, they did something very radical. They could tell they were going to close this thing down. So they're surrounded by thousands of African students, and nobody wants to come to their church because of their past history. Because it was a colonial church. Remember, our ancestors couldn't go to that church. You'd have been shot. That was near the governor's mansion. So it was actually so when the university now grew up around it, the students saw it as a Muzungu church. They didn't want to go. So these guys were like, we're dying here and we're going to lose this building. So they did a radical thing. They asked Nairobi Chapel. They came to Nairobi Baptist now. And at that time, Reverend Mutava Musimi was the pastor. And they said, please help us. We're dying. You guys need to take us over. And so Reverend Mutava Musimi had a young intern called Oscar Muriithi. Didn't know what to do with this intern, I guess. So he was like, okay, so we'll send this young man to be your leader. So they sent Pastor Oscar to come to Nairobi Baptist. And Pastor Oscar was a very interesting guy. We didn't even used to call him Pastor Oscar, we just called him Oscar then. And he was a young guy, newly married, very cool guy, studied science like me. So very educated, sharp, spoke, I mean, you could tell he had the status markers that made you say, okay, this is a guy I can listen to. And yet he was really into God. And so he moved there, and because we're in the university, going to Nairobi Baptist was quite like it was like a sacrifice every Sunday morning. So when we had there was like something of Nairobi Baptist happening in college, it was like, phew, that's like half an hour of sleep on Sunday morning. So we started going to Nairobi Chapel. And so now Nairobi Chapel, a new church, they need everybody.
Yes.
It's like, so first thing I got drafted in the worship team. I mean, like me, I started singing, but I learned how to play guitar.
You play Rouge on Monday to...
So Monday to Saturday you're playing rugby and you're in this crowd. On Sunday you're the worship leader. And actually my roommate was, he's called Emmanuel, a really amazing guy. He taught me how to play guitar. And I was quite musical, so I learned quickly. And so I joined the worship team, and I was now, on Sundays, I was starring in church. Then Wednesday, you're playing against the Jew and all the rugby songs. And so I was living two complete separate lives. Huh?
Yeah.
But I remember even at that point, the peers, the friends in church became very important foundation for me, because I'm here with these guys, we're talking about God. When I go here, in fact, at some point, I didn't have to preach to guys in rugby. I think people started seeing a change.
Yeah.
They just started seeing a lifestyle change. At some point, they started calling me pastor, which was all right with me. I mean, we'd go to play in towns, and we were privileged when you play rugby, at least those days for the university. We were on special diet, they'd give us our own food. Food was free, and already food was good in the university, but we got like really good food. They would give us buses to go and play, would be bussed all over the place to play in different towns against teams. And every time we went, we'd be given allowances. So
what? And
when they gave us the allowance, the plan for me, machine guys, was we go and just plan how much alcohol can we buy with these chums and smash it through the whole night. Huh? Yeah. And then get back, sleep on the bus, all hungover by the time you get back. So now, for me, that wasn't working anymore. So actually, I remember at some point where guys would even give me the cash to shika for them, because it's like, this is a one sober guy. I became the designated guy in the team. Because me, I'd actually asked for my money, to book a room so I can sleep. Yeah. So I'd be the only sober guy the next day. So it was a lot. It was a very interesting lifetime. Huh? And I became the vice captain of the team. So I really had good friends on this side, but then I also had good friends on this side, and it became almost like I lived a split life. I really think the genesis of Mavuno came from that, because what happened is I would invite my friends from the rugby team to church, because I loved this. It was fun. It was alive. Pastor Oscar, he made it look real. It wasn't put on. It wasn't religion. It's like, this is purpose. This is who God has called you to be. So I was really enjoying it. And coming from my background, it was like, I understand faith, but now this is how it's meant to be preached to a young person. But for these guys who had no faith background, they'd come to church, because I'd be like, hey, dude, come with me on Sunday. The guy's like, sour. It's like, this thing you're really excited about, let's go. So he comes, afterwards you're like, what do you think? What do you think? The guy's like, it was nice, it was nice. Last scene. That guy is never coming again.
And that's in Nairobi Chapel?
Yeah, in Nairobi Chapel. Because when you need to understand, if you've come from a church background where you're looking for a better expression, when you see it, you're like in.
Yeah.
But if you come from a secular background, it's a completely different language.
It's true.
And I couldn't get it.
It's true.
Now, what helped me is my wife. She didn't grow up in church. So Carol, bless her heart, they didn't go to church like me. I'm a kid. Remember, I told you, I've grown up going to church my whole life. They were lucky if they went Easter or Christmas,
I feel her.
And so in a sense, she introduced me to a whole new world that I didn't know existed. Now, that's how churched I was. Because when I told her, I don't get why they're not coming, she's like, do you know how hard it was for me to come to Nairobi Baptist or Nairobi Chapel? I'm like, what do you mean it was hard? She's like, yeah, you guys sing weird songs. I'm like, what do you mean weird songs? A bass guitar, but she's like, when you come from the club and you're listening to R&B and you're listening to, those, and then you come to church and they're doing all this weird Mzungu music, it doesn't make sense. And I think that's the first time I started to understand, this is why church doesn't work. It's not like people aren't hungry. They want what you've got. They can see a transformation. They're like, I want what you have. But it's too painful to bring them into your space, because that space doesn't speak to them in their language. And I think that's where the journey, like a sense of, my goodness, I wish we could do church differently to reach people who don't like church.
You've got these rugby guys who you love.
Who I love. I want them my boys.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But then there's this world that also
they can't cross over into this world.
They're not connecting.
Exactly. And I can tell the issue is not Jesus. The issue is not the gospel. The issue is the form that we're presenting this thing in.
Yeah. So at this time, let's talk a bit about your relationship, dating. Is she saved?
So she's saved, and again, very newly, just like me. I'm a little older in this salvation thing. In fact, I remember when she got saved, I was there. It was an camp, and I was praying for her. Like, just you see some girls and you're like, hi, and her friends. I'm like, this chick needs to get saved, man. So I remember praying for them and being excited when they got saved, but I think there was no relationship. But it sort of grew, and we became really good friends. And at some point, we became best friends. I mean, because we signed up when I registered for university, the first day when you choose subjects.
And the subjects you chose were?
So I picked biochemistry.
You're still looking for the money.
I'm still looking for my pharmacy degree. And I didn't qualify for pharmacy because I didn't do as well in my A-levels, but I knew there was still a route I could get there. I just do biochem and then do a master's in pharmacy. So she signed up for biochem as well. So now we're both studying biochem. So the way it worked was very interesting because all the biochem students, first year we were all in main campus, but then science students moved to Chiromo in second year because all your classes are in Chiromo. But now Nairobi Chapel is in the main campus. And so both she and I were going to Nairobi Chapel, got involved in the worship team, got many friends over here. So now we didn't want to move to this side. Because Chapel had been there for so long, there were some of the workers in college, some of the dorm, the caretakers, the hall people, they came to the church. So it was very easy to tell a guy, I don't want to move. Can you give me a room? Can you get me a room close? And so we both got rooms next to Chapel so we could be around our friends. So what that meant is every morning, those are 15-minute walk
to Chiromo
with this chick. And then in the evening, there's another 15-minute walk, 20 minutes actually, it's like a distance. And we just became best friends. I mean, like every morning I'd wait for her, she'd come by the men's hall, then we'd walk together, I'd carry her books, pack a class. Then we'd join our quorum because we had a group of good friends, hang out the whole day. But in the evening, when everything is done, I'd come back and we had the same classes. We did that for a year. And dude, we became really good friends. I mean, I could tell her anything. And it wasn't romantic, it was just, we're buddies. In fact, one day I told her, I paid her what I thought was the best compliment. Later on, I realized how foolish that was. Because I told her, if you're a guy, you'd be my best man. Because I was even dating a chick at that point that I really liked. So I'd even tell her all the stories. I think she had started liking me kidogo, but now she should hear all my stories of the chicks I'm dating and all that. So, but we became really good friends. And I think what happened now that really turned things for me was two things. Number one, my buddies, again, that group of guys that I'd become good friends with, they pulled me aside one day. In fact, we had an overnight at one of their houses to watch movies. And I realized it was an intervention. I didn't realize they were calling me for something. I thought the whole thing, we're all in a boys thing. Kumbe, they had all planned to talk to me. And they were like, this chick, dude, you're messing up, Anna. So I'm like, what do you mean I'm messing up? They said, you're spending too much time with her. And you actually need to be careful because chicks are not like guys. You spend too much time together and they start liking you. You can just be you can say we're boys, but her, she's not thinking like that. So I remember I laughed. I said, you guys don't know Carol, you don't know me. What are you guys telling me? But I'm the kind of guy who, when you tell me something the first time, I may not look like I believe it or hear it, but I do listen. So I remember after that, I went and told her, okay, we're spending too much time together. And since we're only friends, I think it's only right that I give you space. So let's not walk together. You go by yourself, me, I'll go by myself. She was like, cheers. I think we did that for a week. It was the most boring week. I can't even tell you what happened at the beginning of the next week. It was just like I was waiting for her when she came. Like, we didn't even talk about it. We just continued. I think we did that like twice. Tried to stop. And then I remember she went on a trip because she was studying botany as well, and I wasn't doing botany. They went on a trip to Kakamega Forest for like a week. And I remember that week in campus was long. It was boring. And that's when I thought, I'd not realized. I just thought, this is, and for me, I was just like, I realized, and guys are a bit slow. You don't even know what you're feeling. That's when I realized, I'm missing the chick, man. Like, why am I missing? And I really started to interrogate, and I thought, actually, I really like this girl. And then I think the thought just hit me, why would you want to date a person that you don't miss? Why would you want to date a person just because you like how they look, but when you don't even have anything to talk about? And I realized, actually, this is my best friend. That's why I should date her. So I remember when she came back, I told her, let's have coffee, let's took her out somewhere. And then I asked her to be my girlfriend. And I think she almost fainted. She was like, what? I thought you'd never ask, kind of story. And so from then on, we started dating.
Yeah.
End of first year, we dated through second and third year. And then we both worked at Nairobi Chapel, because after college, we did an internship for a year at Nairobi Chapel. And then we got married straight after that. So we dated 3 intense years. Because by intense, I mean like I saw her every day.
Yeah.
Like every single day for those 3 years I saw her. Yeah.
Yo, that's such a cool story.
And we're still best friends. I mean, we still talk more.
Again, it goes back to one of the books that you've written where you talk about friendship being the foundation
of relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that with my folks. I've seen it with her folks. We're very fortunate that both our folks were very good friends first. And I always encourage guys, man, if you're not buddies, build a friendship first. When you fall in love with beauty or with handsomeness, you can only have handsomeness for so long. You get tired of it. There has to be more substance. And I think for us, a friendship was core. Yeah.
Okay, let's now talk about the internship. What makes you decide to go and do an internship? At this time, have you then decided?
No. I'm still a rich pharmacist.